Hello, everybody. It's the old bear from the old bear's den of Bigfoot, and got a live show for you tonight. And we got Mr. Jeffrey Lilly coming on here shortly. Put a couple of his encounters out earlier this week, and we are going to bring him live to you to find out from the horse's mouth uh, what he saw, more detail, and let everybody know what this man has learned over the years since he's had interactions with Bigfoot. He's gotten into investigations of Bigfoot, and so first thing I want to do is tell each and every one of you I'm glad to have you on tonight. Southern Grit, Squatching Cowboy, Linda Thomas, Colin Johnson, and Cowboy. How you doing, buddy? Um, Colin, we'll bring him on in here in just a little bit, and but first I want to remind everyone that we are going to have a Squatch out. It's called a TTWV, and it stands for Tennessee, Texas, and West Virginia Squatch out down in Eastern Kentucky or Tennessee, Eastern Kentucky. I got something else on my mind. Sorry. It's Eastern Tennessee, and it will be the weekend of Labor Day, the 4th and 5th of September. We invite everybody to come. Everybody's welcome. There is just, if you want a place to camp, as of this morning at 4 a.m., there was 3 sites left, 3 camping sites. And Friday or Saturday about noon, we're going to kick it off, and we're going to have a big meet and greet where everybody can come and meet the Squatching Cowboy, the guys from Manimal, Wayne and Derek, and you get to meet and see the old bald guy, me. You get to meet my wife with the beautiful voice that I've known she's had for years, and we hope you come Saturday evening, starting right about maybe an hour before dark or 2 hours before dark. We're going to do a little bit of us and the guys are going to go out and do some squatching, and you're more than welcome to come and follow us on the mountain and see if you hear something or if we see something. Hopefully we can get the Squatching Cowboy a sighting. And Squatching Cowboy, it's Tennessee first. It's the home state. You got to name them first, man. Sorry. But hopefully we can get Cowboy a sighting, a very good sighting, I hope. We're going to do our best. And then Sunday morning at 10 a.m., I'm going to hold a church service. Don't expect a lot, everybody to come in a suit, tie, or real fancy dress. Just come and listen to the Word of God. And my wife's going to sing a couple of songs. I've been told how great thou art is one of them, and Amazing Grace might be the other one. But come and listen to her sing, and I'll have a sermon to give. And then about noon, we're going to start with mental research, and then we're going to go to the Squatching Cowboy at about 1 o'clock. And then we're supposed to go to me. I'll probably be done around 2:15, 2:30. I'll shut up and just let everybody start asking questions. And if you're there, just come up and ask us questions. Don't be afraid. If you got experiences, come and tell us. We'll put your story out there on our channels, and that's what it's for. It's for y'all to get a chance to meet the people behind the channels and to come in person and tell us what you've found out about these creatures, or what you've seen and what you've heard. And we ask you to come and enjoy yourselves. Come to have fun. That's what it's for. But enough of a plug for the Squatch out in September. Let's bring Mr. Lilly in, and we're going to bring him into the channel. And give me a second, and we'll bring him right in. How you doing there, Jeff?
How you doing, Bear?
I'm glad you came tonight. We've got a few people on already, and they've been wanting to know where you're at. And what I would like to do is tonight, if I could, I'd like to get some information from you. And I would like to find out what got you into, what made you become a believer. Can you tell us the first time you saw one?
Yeah. About 1980. I was about 10 years old. I always had to walk my sister back and forth from school. That was just my job. Small town we come from. It was a tight knit community, but we all looked out for one another. So I always made sure she got to and from school. But one day we were coming home. We took a different route that day. I'll never forget it. We were coming down Highland Avenue. And like I said, this is not back in 1980. And all of a sudden I hear something yell out, and then a rock crashes next to my ankle, my sister's ankles. She was on the inside of me. I always made her walk to the inside. So I looked back thinking, maybe bullies from school or something, but I didn't see nobody on the sidewalk, or off in the side bushes, maybe hiding, playing a prank on us. So I turned her back around and we just continued to walk. Within 5 seconds later, another yell, like a whoop, come out, and another rock hit. As soon as I heard that yell, the second rock come in flying and landed even closer. It was where when they hit it, it kicked up some gravel and kind of, nicked me in the legs a little bit. So I look back and I don't see anything on the sidewalk again. So I'm looking over towards the woods because on the right hand side was Indian Mound, and it's a sacred Indian burial site, is what they say. Norwood folklore says. Did a little research on that lately as well. There is an Indian mound there that they used to build back in the day, the Hopewell Indians. So I look off into the woods and I see the outline of this thing. It's humongous, 800 pounds at least, blackish gray. It had two humongous hands. It was on some saplings, but it was bobbing and weaving its head like defensively almost, trying to keep from being seen. All I could see in the beginning was an outline of the creature, because the woods were very shaded up in that area from the sun, because you had houses on the direct opposite side of the street, but they had big trees in their yards too. So that area was well shaded in. So all I could see was an outline, but the outline was immense. And like I said, then having two rocks thrown at us like that, it was just crazy. I thought, man, is this real? When that happens, you just think, is this real? Is this really happening to me? Didn't know what to take from it because I was still young. We'd heard stories, but that was about it. And a lot of people talked to them in our town because a lot of people like to go hunt and go in the woods and coon hunt and fish and everything else. So at this time, I see this thing, and I'm intimidated. And I got my sister with me. So I tell her, I say, when I say run, just bolt and hit. We're gonna make this turn and head down to the house. We were half a block away from home when this happened, which was what was ironic. We lived on Linden, which was 50 more steps down, and then they could turn to the right, and it was all downhill from there. So I tell her to book, and we book, and nothing else ever happened from that incident. But we got home, we immediately told my mom, hey mom, there's something up in the woods, don't know what it is, it's huge, it's humongous, and it could hurt somebody else. Why don't you call the police? And the only thing my mom said was, why don't y'all shut up, you kids are crazy these days, go back in your room and do your homework. So we listened to her, but I didn't sleep that night out of fear that this thing could possibly come through the window, track us down and get us. As little kids, you can only imagine how the mind runs.
Oh yeah.
So that was the first one. It was really quick. That one was how it went down. In the knowledge of not knowing, what was up there, to the fullest extent. I think is why I reacted so quickly, because this would happen to me later in life, and I wouldn't react so quickly. Um, Second encounter was at Todd's Creek. I'll never forget this neither. I was hungover one day. I was really young. I was in my prime, drinking days before I quit. Um, and my buddy was at the door ready to go to Lake Cowan up in northeastern
Mm-hmm.
Ohio a ways. Um, so we go up there to go fish for some bass and some muskie. And I never forget, as soon as we got there, we tied on spoons and he threw one right through my ear because I was in the back of the boat. He was in the front. I told him, don't, whatever you do, don't get me with a hook. And he did first cast. Triples
All
over.
right.
So I'm ready to go home. I got to go back over to the bait house and have this guy cut this hook out of my ear. So he does. We go back over. I bite on a stick. He pops it out with a pair of, needle nose, and then we're off. So I'm like, just take me home. Bad day. He's like, no, why don't we stop off at Todd's Creek? It's on the way home anyway. Let's go try to catch some white bass because, they're running. So I decided to go. So we get there, and it's about a 600-yard stretch just to get to the creek. He knew the guy who owned the farm, so we were allowed to fish there, that was cool. But we
Right.
also knew there wouldn't be no competition there neither. Nobody else would be there to fish because it was private property. Now
Right.
Here's what spooked us. We get there, we're out in the middle. We're right out in the middle. We had our clothes on. Usually we'd bring our waders, but we went to Cowan first, so we didn't bring our waders. So
Mm-hmm.
we're just out there in just regular shorts and t-shirts, and he's down below me about 75 yards, and then he's slowly coming up my way. Well, I'm casting to the right, looking for pockets to pull some white bass out. We got really good at tearing them things up over the years. But out of the blue, out of nowhere, a rock just comes flying in off to the right side of the woods, the thickest part of the woods, away from the farm, and it lands about 5 feet away from me. And I'm just thinking, what just happened? Second of all, who threw that? Third, who would be out here in this area? Even who would even be allowed out in this area to even be able to do what just happened to me?
Right.
So I didn't think nothing of it. I tried to shake it off. But then about 5 minutes later, same side, bigger rock, a little bit closer to me lands and splashes and gets water all over me. I look down at Chris. He looks up at me, and we both knew what to do from there. We were on it. We were getting out of that water as fast as we could. But you get to the bank and it sloped down, and we were soaking wet. So as we're getting out, scared to death, both of us, we're trying to climb up this bank soaking wet, and we're slipping and sliding like we're in a mud wrestling pit because we can't get nowhere. We're mud
Mm-hmm.
sloppy. I mean, and I'm super spooked. I am like scared to death. So finally we get up. Then we still got a 600-yard stretch to go to get to the truck. Now, when you're scared to death, it's so hard to get a move on it, because everything is super tight on your body. Now, I didn't freeze at this point. It took us about good 20 to 30 minutes to get to the truck from there. That's how scared we were. But I'll
Mm-hmm.
never forget it. When we got in the truck, he was so scared. He got the keys out of his pocket, but he couldn't get them in the ignition to start the truck. So I had to grab them from him and do it myself. And then we peeled out of there, and we never went back there and fished ever again, ever. That was a little bit spooky to
Mm-hmm.
me.
Right.
So that's when I really started to, to wonder, at this point, uh, the Elmer Davis Lake thing had already happened because I was 13 when that went down. So, at this point in time, I'm like, man, something is really, going down here with me. Every time I'm going into the woods, it's like something's happening. Now, I don't look at this as being ironic because I'm not identical twin and I'm the only one left because my brother died. So I feel like that has maybe helped me get these sightings and encounters that I had because these creatures are very intuitive. My clock just flew off of my wall. That was wild. So I'm thinking, man, what is going on? So we started going back down and fishing this place called Route 32. Now, when we get
Uh-huh.
back down there, we're hearing rumors of a wild man running down around there too at night, scaring people away from their camping sites, night fishing spots. And
Mm-hmm.
I had a bunch of buddies that fished down there, and everybody was scared up out of there, and nobody was going night fishing or camping. And we like to fish a spot called the Slab. But we tried to actually go down there one night and fish it, but I was just so super spooked from what had already just happened, a few weeks before that at Todd's Creek. We didn't stay long and we were up out of there. I just was getting bad feelings. So a couple months go by. I'm not fishing. I'm not doing nothing other than just hanging close because I'm spooked. I'm just spooked. My uncle Mike comes to the house one day and says, "Hey, let's switch up. Why don't we all go get together and go fishing? But we're going to go out to a buddy of mine named Tom. We're going to go out to Tom's house. He's got a bunch of land out there next to Miami Whitewater Forest." And I'm like, "Cool, different, totally different place to go, a different change in settings. Maybe things will be a little bit better for me." So I decided to go. This was going to be a serious fishing trip. So we were competitive as a family. So really, there was nobody was drinking. We took the basic fishing gear for bass, and crappie, and a couple poles each, and that was it. And we get to Tom's, and we're going up this mountain. This is a small mountain, but it's a heck of a climb. It's about a 90-degree angle. About a quarter way up, it hits 90, and you're going straight up. Like when you get to the top of this place, you're bent over, hands on your knees, sucking air, because that's how exhausting this climb is. But the fishing up there was just superb. It was just awesome, man. I could never describe to you how good the fishing was at this spot. It was a little lake, but the bass in it was humongous, like it had been, personally stocked. Which Tom told us he put some big ones in there. But here's what Tom didn't tell us. A couple weeks before that, he had deer coming up, just finding them dead up there. Was their necks broke. A couple of them, not a whole lot, just a couple. We said, but we didn't find out this till after the fact. So we're up there night fishing at times, and we're burning them up, But like I said, time flies when you're having fun. So like the night was on us quick, just like that, like in the snap of a finger. So everybody in the fishing slowing down. So everybody's starting to change over for bluegill and crappie fishing. My dad and my uncles are. I had my dad and my two uncles with me, and they were sober as a judge. About midnight hit. Always when we went up Tom's, the cows were always up there with us, and they always stayed off to the left-hand side, and they always stayed the whole time. Now, about midnight, the cows get up from the left-hand side, and they roll over around to the right side of the lake, and they go up the hill to Lake 2. Now, there's a ridge that runs off of Lake 2 and wraps back around from the backside and comes around into Lake 1, but it comes out perfectly level to the left side of the lake. And I knew where a drop-off was there. So about 3 o'clock, I decided I'm going to go over there and fish. But about an hour before that, we'd heard something on that ridge coming down slowly. It was moving slow and methodical. So we thought deer, didn't think nothing of it. So about 4 o'clock, I go over to grab the minnow bucket and the lantern and my crappie pole that I had rigged up. And all of a sudden, my Uncle Mike said, "Jeffrey, you hear that? You hear that? That sounds like a baby crying out. Like a baby's crying out over there on that left-hand side." And I stopped for a second, and I heard it, and it sounded just like a baby crying out. Well, I grabbed a lantern, and I go around to the left-hand side, and this is a small lake. So, like when I turned, I was already 40 foot away from this thing. I mean, I was super close up to where I could see it in full detail. It was crashed down on two legs and had its right hand in the lake like it was cupping its hand to get a drink of water. And then the shocking part was when I looked to the left, it had a deer, like a doe, a baby doe, medium-sized baby doe on the ground by the throat. That's what set me into shock. Now, as I put the light up on this thing, it knows it's been spotted. It's froze. I'm taking it's a little bit, spooked itself because it's turning slowly towards me. But as it meets its eye contact with me, I don't know if it was from the lantern light, but the eyes lit up yellow in the lantern light. And this thing, as soon as we made eye contact, it let out the lowest, slowest curdling growl that you'll ever hear. I had the hair on the back of my neck standing up. It was standing up on my arms, probably even my legs. I was that scared. And at the end, it let out a snoot like it was disgusted. It had been seen and spotted.
Yeah.
So I'm froze. I got my Uncle Mike on the right-hand side of the lake saying, "Junior, what is that? Do you see that? What is that?" And I'm like, yeah, I see that. Do you all see that? I got the light on this thing. I said, "Bolt now." And they dropped their poles and everything. Whatever they had in their hands was on the ground. And they were jumping off the side of this mountain. They hit the slope running. I hit right behind them. I put up the lantern light so I can, get us some light to see where we're all going. Trying to look
Mm-hmm.
out for them too. But when I did, I slowed down. I'd already passed them up, but when I slowed down by raising that lantern, they took me out. Well, when they did that, it's like fear overgripped me. I couldn't get back up on my feet to run. I was so scared, my legs froze. I could not get them out from under me for about 5 minutes. I tried to pull myself up off of trees and big boulders. I could not get use of my legs. Now I don't know if that was that hypnosis they say that some use on others. I don't know if it was just a gripping fear that I felt. I can't explain it to this day. I pretty much think it was the gripping fear part that got the best of me. But this was a quarter of a mile down, and I damn well near rolled down all the way down that mountain before I could even get used to my
Uh-huh.
legs again. And then when we get down to the bottom, Tom's already coming out of the house, like, "What happened? What's going on, fellas?" And I was like, "No, nothing. Something just spooked us up there." And Tom says, out of nowhere, "Yeah, I had a couple deer pop up with their necks broke last week, but I didn't. I forgot to say anything to y'all about it. Uh,
Well,
what
that'd have
spooked
been
y'all
some.
up there?" He said, "What
That
spooked y'all up there?" My Uncle Mike said, "We ain't talking. We're just going to pack up and go."
right. Well, that'd have been good information to let you know before you went up there.
Yeah, because we probably wouldn't have went. I know I probably wouldn't have went. Without a doubt, I wouldn't have went. With everything else that already happened, I know I would have stayed in the truck. Scared me to death. Scariest night of my life. Like when I
Now,
seen that.
Jeff, whenever you were when your legs quit working, did they start cramping up, or did they cramp up afterwards, or you didn't have cramps
after
before, or just
after they just went out from
after?
underneath me. I could not use them at
Mm-hmm.
all. They were sore after the fact. They weren't sore before. This is like they just went totally numb. I could not use them at all. And then the next day, pretty much, I was so sore, I was in the bed probably 3/4 of the day. I really
Right.
didn't do much. It really overtook me for a while. It took me down a bad road.
Yeah, it's
Alcoholism.
understandable, buddy.
It did it. Uh, because at the end, I was told to not say nothing by my uncles and my father. And,
Mm-hmm.
I grew up around them. They were always pretty rough on me, but they did it to make me tough. But then for them to tell me I can't say nothing, that people were going to throw me in the loony bin, or they didn't want to be part of it. They definitely didn't want nobody up on Tom's land trying to hunt this thing. Now, there was a state trooper that pulled up that night. Um, because the neighbor next door a ways had heard us yelling and stuff as we were coming down the mountain, you know. And the state trooper just said, "You really don't want me to go all the way up that hill to check out this thing, do you? It's probably gone by now anyway." We get a lot of calls about this. That was what I
Mm-hmm.
found ironic at the end of it. And then I was told to shut up by my family and not say nothing, which I didn't for 20 years.
Now, whenever you were up there and you saw this creature, or when you were down there fishing before you ran into this creature, did you have a feeling of dread or something? A feeling of something wasn't right
Yes, I
that
did.
night? Okay.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did, Bear. When we all thought deer, a feeling come over me like, what if it isn't a deer? What if this isn't a deer? That's when it
Right.
started to take me over again. Like, what if that is not a deer? What if it is really something else? But this was September. Um, no known bears in that area. So
Right.
I wasn't scared about anything in that sense. It was, what if this isn't a deer? And in my subconscious, I was thinking, what if this is one of them again? You know? And then it happened full on, like shocked me.
Right. Jeff, how tall do you think that creature was, even though it was squatted down holding that deer?
About every bit of 7.5 foot, about 500 pounds.
Okay.
Beautiful cinnamon color,
Uh
beautiful
huh.
layered fur. This fur was layered beautifully. It wasn't matted. This thing did not stink. But you got to think there was water all the way around this thing. You had Miami
Right.
Whitewater River. You had Lake Two, the Miami Whitewater River that wrapped 3/4 of the way around all that property, and then you had the
Uh huh.
Miami Whitewater Forest too. So this thing could have possibly trekked through water because it did not have no smell, and neither did the first one either. but I was about 100 foot away from that, so that's a pretty good little distance. But they say when, most of I hear about the smells coming from the ones in California where it's so dang hot during the day, and then they say they smell
Mm-hmm.
something. It smells of like a rotten deer. But I didn't get none of that on my two sightings at all.
Well, a lot of the sightings that I've, or a lot of encounters that I've had with Bigfoot, I've never smelt anything except for two,
Yep.
and that was when they were being aggressive towards me.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
and I surmised that that smell came because they didn't want me there. They use it. They use that scent to
Scare tactic.
cause you to fear. Yeah.
Yes, scare tactic. Yep. That's what I took from the whole situation and the research
Right.
I've been doing lately.
Well, I'm glad you brought up your research. What conclusions have you came to about these creatures, about
Well,
Bigfoot?
in my personal opinion, I believe personally. Now I've done a lot and a lot of research as well, but you got more
Mm-hmm.
time on you than I do me. But I've got 20 consistent. Um, a lot as of late, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. My fiance
Mm-hmm.
can surmise that. She'll tell you. I am on it every morning, noon, and night. Um, I believe I don't. A lot of people believe that they're sent from the aliens and they can cloak and this, that, and the other. My firm belief is they were here long before us, long before the Indians,
Mm-hmm.
and probably long before that. And the way that they've managed to survive is by being super elusive and evasive and methodical in every move that they make. And this is a very intuitive, intelligent creature. And once you see one from up close instead of afar, man, you can sure understand why they can be so quick and so fast and so elusive.
Yeah.
Especially as dark as they are. Just a beautiful, wicked, beautiful creature. I mean, but to see one up close, it's like, man, am I really seeing this? Is this a Hollywood movie scene? Or I mean, it's like just every equation is running through your mind, and you're trying to answer yourself. I guess to keep yourself from being overwhelmed by that fear. But that soon takes over anyway, so it don't matter. uh, I'm just lucky that we got away, and I'm lucky that was a juvenile. What if that had been an adult Gugway? Like I really kind of looked at it, looking back, like what if that had been a totally different ball game? You know, different
What if that
species.
had been? What if that would have been one of the grassmen in Ohio? From Ohio.
Yeah.
They're very temperamental, um,
Yes.
and there's Bigfoot in every one of the states in the union, except for maybe Hawaii.
Right.
Um, 49 of the 50 states have Bigfoot, as far as I know, and
Yeah.
I mean, there's ones in every state that I've heard of that are aggressive, no matter where they are.
Yep.
Um,
Can understand why they're running out all their, I mean, all these divorce projects that we're having, the past 20 years. I mean, they're really running out of room to hide. I mean, they're having to go deeper and further. They're probably having to migrate a lot more than they are, like, and probably just totally having to adjust their
uh-huh.
schedule all the way around, you know?
Yeah.
So I can understand why they wouldn't be happy.
Let me ask you a question, Jeff. We were discussing here a few days ago, and I talked to you on the phone about the area of Berea, Kentucky. Uh, what what have you seen down there in Berea?
I'll tell you, man, it was wild. I went down there for vacation and a little bit of that expedition as well, because my health's
Uh-huh.
been really declining. My health's been really declining this past year. So I decided to take a break, but I'm going to go see what I can see anyway and pay attention. Well, we go down there, and the first day we go to fish. It's
Uh-huh.
raining. We're at the boat dock. Nobody's out. I get a rock thrown me right at me off the rip from off the ridge. Uh, that ridge was so high, I didn't see anything, but I looked. Um, and then we hit a bad storm, so we come back and we didn't fish for a couple of days after that, but we fished the local pond at the house. Uh, about a mile back from the house, we find a set of deer legs, two deer legs that have been twisted off of a deer carcass. I mean, twisted off.
What?
And Tim's dad kept those.
Well, what do you mean twisted off? Could you see was the bone splintered, or was it just
Yeah, yeah.
something of
Like they had
super
been
strength
twisted off,
twisting?
like you bring some clothes out, like that.
Okay. Yeah,
And then
I've found that before myself. Yeah.
also the day that we were fishing, that first day that we were fishing, it got the sun come out and it got real hot before that storm come. We actually had a humongous tree get. I forgot all about it. We had a huge tree pushed over. It just popped, boom. It sounded like a missile hitting. And I tell you what, it scared us all to death so bad we all jumped off that bass boat while it was floating. I mean, it scared us to death.
Huh.
I forgot all about that. Yeah, it was straight tree pop. It was a big one out of nowhere. But what really struck me was going home and
Yeah.
seeing that deforest project up there on the highway, and they had cut the whole top of that mountain down. Every tree up there was gone, and you know as well as I do, they like the high ground. So that
Right.
probably took a few of their homes, from them because they love that high ground and they love being up that at that distance away from everyone else, as far as possible. But as we're driving up through there, I'm looking at that. But something's telling me to look off to the left hand side too. And as I do, I see tree breaks at about 8 feet running for about a stretch of 50, 75 yards. And my buddy that was with me, he's a rookie, but he was the one that tapped me on the shoulder, like, look at this. Do you see this? He said he pointed at the top of that building, he pointed at them, and I finally got it. Yeah, that I cannot believe we're seeing tree breaks at 8 feet high on a consistent stretch for 50 to 75 yards. I mean, and these were probably 10-year-old saplings, but they were completely, you could tell someone just took them and snapped them. There wasn't no saw marks. I did tree work all my life. Was no saw marks on these little saplings. They were completely splintered from being grabbed by something and broken.
Right.
And I've got a
Man.
few friends on here that are they're watching. They know I've done tree work my whole life, so they
Yeah.
know I know what I'm talking about when it comes to trees being splintered or being sawed. So that made my buddy a believer, and he was a non-believer before that incident. When he seen that, he became a believer.
Well, is there anything else? Any other instances that you'd like to talk about, Jeff? Is there something else
Well, I'll tell you,
that you would like to tell people about?
well, I've got two books coming out. A lot of my friends know that I've been on a project, but I just got accepted to a 5-year deal with
Uh
Zombie
huh.
Media Publishing, and Zombie Media Publishing is going to put out my kids book, which is Bigfoot and Stellar J. It's an educational children's book about Sasquatch.
Uh huh.
Um, and there's some other good little tidbits in there. And then the book of my tell-alls about everything I experienced in my life, being a twin, growing up, and as well as what happened to me afterward. The book is called Blessed and Cursed, and then I really took my time writing this book because I went through a lot of things in my life. I had a pretty rough life, but I feel like from the beginning, when my brother was taken and I was left on, and blessed and granted life on earth, I felt it paved the way for me to see the things that I was going to see. And I'm still a firm believer in that to this day. And now I can't stop researching. I research 24 hours a day, but I tell you what, I've learned so much. And I've also got a good buddy of mine, Albert Ledesma, who's a
Uh huh.
shaman, medicine man. He practices medicine. He's a shaman out in California, who's taught me a lot about Sasquatch too, and how they
Mm-hmm.
migrate over there from California, from the mountain divides, and what he said in August they do it over there, and then they meet up and mate with other clans in the middle, and then they both go out their separate ways at the end and feed off of burrow and beer and beaver and even wild hogs after they
Mm-hmm.
mate in California. Now California, they got some monsters out there, boy, some big ones. So
Oh yeah.
I can understand why after they'd mate, they'd have to have that type of food, to sustain life for themselves. I just learned so much this past year, especially from him. He studied it his whole life as well, and I'm just glad I met the man because he really educated me a whole lot on the things that I did not know. There's stuff we could sit here and talk about this for hours. I mean, you could. I mean, just with the things that I've learned from this year, uh, they do exist. For non-believers that don't believe in them, you'll see it. I hope that you do get a sighting one day so you can see what those of us who have seen them go through when you do see one. You wish you hadn't, and I guarantee you that. A very immense, impressive, intimidating creature. Uh, I got lucky, you know. Looking back on that night, which I forgot to tell you when we talked about it a couple weeks ago, that night we were sitting in like a bowl kind of a setting. When you get up to the top of Lake One, it kind of sits in a half bowl setting. So I felt like kind of throughout that whole night we had an advantage because from that ridge off to the left, we were downwind from that thing the whole time. It was coming down. Because in the summer, usually your winds come out from west to east, and that ridge was sitting on the west side. So I feel like that was an advantage for us, maybe getting that sighting as close as we did, was being downwind from that creature.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I was so upset when I spotted him.
Yeah.
I think I got a little bit lucky there, But,
Yeah, I'd say you did. It's not luck when you walk up on one and it's at 40 feet.
Yeah, 40 feet. Well, I tell you what, that's fate, ain't it?
Yeah,
that's fate.
you just that's one of them times when you wish that you would have zigged when you zagged.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Yes,
Now,
I do.
Jeff, if you feel like it, you want to. Some of the viewers are on. Do you want to answer some questions from them, or?
Yeah, they got some questions. Yeah.
Okay. So, everybody that's watching, if you want to ask Jeff a question, please put it in capital letters, all caps. That way, I'll catch it on the screen. That's why I'm wearing my glasses so I can see better. So if you got a question for Jeff, please ask.
If they don't, they don't.
All
if
right.
they got one, we'll answer.
Right. So if I got a question for you, Jeff. Did you get to see any of their faces? The encounters that you've had.
Yeah.
I mean, what stood out to you? Were they like a human face or what?
Half and half. The bridge of the nose comes down. Compared to you and me, the bridge of the nose come down maybe half the way shorter, and then flattened out.
Mm-hmm.
From the cheeks down to the upper lips up underneath the nose, it was like a dark leathery tan with a little bit of hair coming out. The head was coned, but it wasn't coned immensely like an adult. It was kind of like it was still forming. That coning was. It wasn't immense as an adult, and that's what really stood out to me. And I thought later that this has got to be a juvenile that I'd seen because the head that I'd seen on the bigger 800 pounder was way more immense. The coning of the head was, and that it wasn't that heavy. But the way that they had, this one had 4 canine teeth, but they were kind of rounded and grinded down. They weren't sharp at all. And then the rest of the teeth were regular. I mean, that's how close up I got to this thing. And it kind of had a cinnamon beard coming off of it down to where its neck met its chest. But just the fur was layered so beautiful. Cinnamon brown color, like 3/4 inches thick. Now for September, I guess, that's a heavy coat, and they gotta run around. So later on, that's what we figured when that thing was out there hunting, because it was, trying to build up for the winter, especially having a coat on it like it did. But the hair went down to its ankles, and then there wasn't really that much hair on the feet at all.
Right.
The feet were facing away from me, on the one at Tom's, because I had his back to me, so I didn't get no view of the feet. But I got a view of that right hand that was when it came out of the water. I mean, it was like slow motion. I seen the water dripping off of his hand. I mean, and the hand was immense. I'm talking a 12 to 14 inch hand.
Right.
And then the left hand being wrapped around that deer's throat. That deer was not getting away. I don't care if 20 other deer come to try to help it. It wasn't getting away. It was over for that poor thing. I'm just glad I got a chance to run. For real. I got lucky there on that one. But a beautiful,
Uh,
wicked, beautiful creature. Very
right.
impressive. Muscles
Uh,
to the gill. Muscles to the gill.
the Squatching Cowboy wanted to know if you had found footprints and if you made any casts out of them.
No, we did not go back up there after that. None of us. Now, my uncle went back the next day with a pistol to get the fishing gear, but I never went back. My dad never went back. My uncle never went back. That's how, I mean, this thing scared me to death. Like, I become a full blown alcoholic after, I was forced to suppress all this stuff. It took me down
Right.
a deep, 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 dark road. Alcohol and drug use. I've been sober for about 7 years now, thank God. It's been a miracle, you know. Uh, the past 7 years I just lost my brother in November, this past November, and I found him dead to the thing that we fought about to get me sober from the most is what killed him. That really set me back even further. But that's why I decided to break away and go do that trip in Kentucky this year was to break
Mm-hmm.
free from all the bad and get the good things rolling. And then boom, sure enough, Zombie Media Publishing said, "Hey, we want to sign you to a 5-year deal. Are you ready? You ready to write some books?" By
Yeah.
God, yeah, I am. Lord willing, I'll write you 6 or 10 if I can.
Right. Well, that's
I got,
good.
yeah, it's good. I got Blessed and Cursed and Bigfoot and Stellar J are both finished and they're at print. They're working on them tomorrow, covers and the editing's done. They're working on print and the cover to the books tomorrow. And then I also sent them 2 other books I just finished, which are The Build Up to a Nightmare and Pulled Under. They just got them, so they're going to be busy working on my books for a minute. I've already got them 4 sitting there, so it kind of puts the pressure on them a little bit. But I wanted to let them know how serious I was about my writing. So really they got 4 books sitting there to do, and I'm working on 2 more already. So I'm well on my way. But I did that for a reason, so I could stay a little bit ahead. I don't want to exhaust myself because this whole process itself has been exhausting.
Right.
But I feel
Uh,
much better. I feel much better now that it's off my chest. And I've got this out to the world. I've got a lot of videos out there, and you're my 3rd interview. But without a doubt, I got to say, you let me run with it. This is the best interview I've done.
got a question for you from one of the viewers. They wanted to know if you've seen any red ones. Have you
No,
seen the ones that got the reddish colored hair?
no red, black. The one in Norwood, I think it was lost. Honestly, I think it was
Mm-hmm.
upset because it was lost. Uh, it was black with gray and white, dingy white tips
Mm-hmm.
coming off the hair of the arms. Rest of it was black. A little bit of gray coming off the legs too, but it was black. And then the one on Times Mountain, it was a cinnamon brown color, wasn't red. Uh, and then I didn't see anything at the rock incident that I had, at Todd's Creek and at Elmer Davis Lake. All we heard was a really loud growl there, so we didn't get to see anything there
Mm-hmm.
neither because the woods are super thick. But so all in all, I've seen a cinnamon brown and a blackish grayish one. Never been, but I'm not done. I'm not done. I just turned 50, so
And well, you're just a few years younger than me, not much. You got a few years to go, like I do.
yeah, I'm stoked.
Angela, yeah, Angela says she's looking forward to getting your books and getting a chance to sit down and read them.
Right on. It's a good read. I put my
Yeah.
soul into that book. I put my soul into it.
Johnny wants to know: have you seen any other cryptids besides Bigfoot?
Not that I can say. Some tried to say that what I seen on Tom's Mountain was maybe a dog man. Now I seen what I seen. Uh, it wasn't built like a dog man. You know what I mean? But they had me thinking there for a minute that maybe that might have been what I seen. But that's not what I saw. It was what I saw was a juvenile Bigfoot to a T,
Uh-huh.
and the black one as well. Now I gotta tell you, in our hometown, we got the woods are sacred all around from where I'm from, and I gotta tell you, there's been times I've been in the woods and I've always felt like every time I'm in the woods, I feel like eyes are on me. So, I may have had an encounter with something else and just not known it. Like, I feel like these things are drawn to me. And I don't know if it's because they're intuitive and they know I'm a pure soul. I wouldn't hurt a fly. And, they say they're very smart, very intuitive, very intelligent. They can read you like a
Mm-hmm.
book. They say they're smart enough they can read humans like a book. So, um, I'm thinking that's taken part in most of the reason why I've had encounters is that they are just as curious about me as I am of them.
Right.
My family's had a few, encounters with them, but nobody's ever said they had an encounter with a red one. And my family is from West Virginia as well, so that's where I hear reports of red ones.
Yeah, yeah. There's some red ones up around the Webster Springs area. Uh, I've seen a few of the reddish colored ones up in that area myself.
Now, are those the
And
Gugway? Are those the Gugway?
no, they're not a
No.
Gugway type. They're kind of benign, and and when I say benign, I mean when they see you, they take off. They don't
Right.
they
This
don't
is
want nothing
scary.
to do with you.
Right.
But there are ones up in that area and around Summersville, the town of Summersville. Um, that's where you get the ones that everybody around here calls the Yahoo because they have a different type of call. They make it, it does sound like they're saying Yahoo
Wow.
whenever, and they're very aggressive.
Wow.
Uh, they
Huh.
look more like a cross between a gorilla and a person, um, but they have protruding fangs, and they've been known to chase people out of the woods. They've
See.
been known to try to hurt people.
Right. That's why I said I got lucky getting away the two times I did. Um, Very fortunate, like I said, because that first one, I didn't see any fangs on him, the black one, blackish, black and grayish one.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but the other one had four, but they weren't like fangs. They were really worn down and kind of grinded. They weren't sharp at all. They were more rounded than anything, but still, to say the least, very scary. But like I said, I know without a doubt it was a juvenile because the bigger one, its head was super coned compared to the
Yeah.
one that I'd seen on Thomas Mountain. uh, just grateful that I got to even, see the things I've seen in life, man. Uh, but to all the naysayers out there, you can't really knock it. I mean, everybody out there can't be telling a lie. I mean, and that's the way you
No.
got to look at it. That's the exact way you got to look at it. And if you really want to ask somebody about their encounters, find out what they know about them. Wait, see how they explain themselves after, before and after. I mean, you'll be able to tell pretty much when somebody's lying. I mean, you can tell it in their voice. So everybody
Well,
can't be telling a lie, but not everybody's lying.
well, Jeff, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Um, now you know about the squatch out we're having in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in coming down?
If I could get down there, I will. When is it?
It is September 4th and 5th.
I will
It's
try
the
my
weekend of
best.
Labor Day.
I will try my best to get down there. Now my books are out. I will be getting money. My first compensation will be 1 to 3 months, so it should work out to where I will have some money. And if I do, I promise you, I will go.
We would love to have you there, buddy.
Yeah, I
I'm
would.
serious. I mean, we want as many people to come as possible,
Right
and
on.
if you come down and your book's out, bring some with you.
Right
I
on.
mean, bring them down and
Autograph them out.
autograph the books out to to the viewers.
Readers. Yeah, get them going. That sounds like a plan. Truly does.
Joseph wants to know the black one that you saw. What color eyes did it have? Did it have black, brown, yellow?
Black, black,
They were
black.
black.
Everything was black on that
Mm,
thing. Everything was black on it.
that's
Black.
not a good color. That's not a really
Every
good color.
yeah, black. But you got to think it was daytime, so I didn't see no glow. This was middle of the afternoon, about 3:30. So,
Yeah.
who's to say? A lot of people say they see red glowing eyes. Like I said, the one I seen at nighttime, when I had the lantern light on it, it was yellow. So, who knows? I'm not a
Well,
professional when it comes to
usually,
lighting.
right, and I understand that. It depends a lot on how the light gets in their eyes. If it's at
And
an
everything was
angle, it
shaded.
might show up
Right,
different.
right. And this area I was in was totally shaded. Totally shaded. No sun could
Yeah,
get through
that
there,
means a lot. That means a lot right there. The no exterior light, and then there's no reflection.
But the same dark tannish, leathery face. Just a humongous creature. Muscles were intense, like just pure power.
Hmm.
Just shook them trees like they weren't nothing, like they weren't nothing, as it was bobbing its head. I mean, scared me to death. At 10 years old, you can only imagine. Uh, but not knowing what it was, I think, is what helped me break away from that fear because I really didn't know what I was looking at till later
Yeah, you
on in
didn't know
life.
to be afraid. Yeah.
No, didn't know. You know, so uh, by far, I had every bit of 800 pounds. It was a big boy, no, without a doubt. Way
I'd
heavier
say
than
that
that.
was probably an old alpha, or an
Yeah,
alpha
yeah,
of a
yeah.
clan.
And it got lost, was mad as heck, and was
Hmm.
probably a little scared too because he was lost. So took it out on us when we
Well,
come across his path.
well, I don't know about being mad because it was lost. I'd say it was probably mad because it had two little humans there in front of it, and y'all could see it,
Right,
and
right.
knew it was something, but you didn't know to be afraid of it, and that
Nope.
and that tends to upset the alphas. They
Yeah,
they assert their dominance at all times,
right.
and whenever they don't get the reaction they want, they
Yeah.
tend to get a little
Okay.
bit upset.
Right on. I get that. Elders demanding respect. I was talking about that with somebody a couple of days ago about the elders. They really didn't know that they ran like that. You know what I mean? That you had your juveniles.
Hmm.
Heck, you got even got babies and juveniles, and then you got your adults, and then you have your elders. So
Hmm.
I was talking to Albert, and when he was informing me on how they run it, and the elders are even brought up in there in August when they are in California and they're going and they're meeting the other clan from the right side of the mountains, the Cascades, to mate. That the elders are the first ones that get the pick of the litter and mate. So yeah, they get the respect. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, the older ones always get to be first in line for everything.
Yes,
That's
indeed.
what I've found. Um, is there so Jeff? I'm gonna let you have the final word on this. Um, tell us a little bit about your book. Again, so everybody can get the titles of your books, and when they come out, they can grab a copy of it. And tell us one thing that you would like everybody to know, how these creatures have affected your life. And you hear all these people talking about wanting to see one. What's your recommendation to people that want to go see one?
Yeah. Well, I recommend to those who want to see one, you really don't want to see one. It really affected my life afterwards, being told, basically forced to keep it a secret for 20 plus years. I let it ruin me and take me down a deep, dark road. I mean, like alcoholism, full blown drug addiction as well. Um, until I decided to get clean and save my life. It was really a deep, dark road and a long one. You don't want to see one of these things because they say myth has it that you're cursed after you do get a sighting. Um, that may not often be the case for everyone, but it is. I know it was for me. Um, the book is about every one of my encounters that I've had. I've had a couple more smaller ones, other than the ones we talked about. But in the book, I kind of build it up. I start out strong, give an encounter, and then I give more about my life history and the way I was brought up and the things I've seen and went through in life, and then I'll throw an encounter in there here and there, and then I lead off to the Thomas Mountain encounter at the end, the big, the big one, the good one, the 40 foot away. I leave that for the end, so that way it keeps everybody tuned in throughout the whole read. Keeps them busy. They don't put the book up because it gets boring at one point.
Well, Jeff, I can't thank you enough for coming on. Um, when your book comes out, I'm going to pick up one, and
good book.
If I have to drive to your house to get it autographed, I'm gonna come to your house and get it autographed.
I'll give you 3 books. Now I'll try my best to get down there to you. I promise you.
We'd love to have you, buddy.
I appreciate you for having me on tonight too. I appreciate you having me on, Bear.
It's all my pleasure, buddy.
I appreciate it.
We are going to, Jeff, you want to give me a call tomorrow and we'll talk. And I'll let you get off here tonight. And I thank you again. The viewers, thank you. They've enjoyed it, and I'm blessed to have you on here tonight. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, sir. See you later.
All right, bro. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Jeff's story and his account of what he's seen and what he's found out about these creatures and structures he's found, and all that stuff's going to be in his book. If you get a chance, go pick it up. And like I said, I'm gonna grab a copy of it, and I'm gonna go to his house if I have to and get it autographed. But I want to remind everybody that in September we are having the TTWV Squatch Out at Thunder Rock Campground. Saturday's going to be a blast. We're going to have all kinds of fun Saturday. Come down and meet each and every one of us, behind the channels. And maybe you can follow us squatching later that evening. And then on Sunday, we're going to try to have a church service Sunday morning around 10 a.m. And then around noon, we're going to get started with manimal research. We're going to throw Squatch and Cowboy under the bus too, and they're going to drag me kicking and screaming under the bus last. So, we're going to get up and give a presentation of what we know, what we've seen in the years that we've been squatching, encounters that we may have had and things that we found in the woods, when it comes to structures or anything like that. And then after we get done flapping our gums and boring you half to death, we're going to try to, it'll probably be me boring everybody to death. The rest of them will have you entertained. But we're going to sit around and some of us may have shirts or decals or anything like that you can come and get at a reasonable price. Get them autographed from the guys of the channels, and we'd love to have everybody there. And you heard Jeff; he's going to try to make it. So I hope y'all enjoyed tonight, and may God bless each and every one of you. And I hope y'all have a wonderful night, and wake up tomorrow morning and get to do it all again. With God's blessing, we'll see y'all next time. Thank y'all.